Previous video we have teach you how to write in the code to calculate the sum of the salary in the New Jersey state. And these codes are fairly straightforward, but for the beginner, I guess the most like frustrating part is just this equation. If you look at this equation mathematically, they do not make any sense because, say, one value is equal to himself plus another non-zero value. That's this equation by itself even do not stand, right? So to understand this, it's actually mathematically, if we make it right, it should be things like that. So we have the variable starting 0, okay. The script of 0, that means we haven't counted anyone yet. At the beginning, that's 0. And then after we count the first one in the New Jersey, this should be have the salary sum, that's subscript of 1. And it's equal to salary sum at the subscript of 0. That means you don't have anyone, plus the salary of the first one. Then after another iteration, the sum of the salary sum of including 2 people, so subscript of 2 is equal to salary sum subscript of 1 plus the salary 2, and etc. And eventually the salary sum subscript of I is equal to this I minus 1 plus the salary of the I. So if you really want to understand the correct mathematical way, it should be things look like this one. And but in computer, when you use the equation look like this one, it's actually serving the function of this one in the mathematical way. So the way how you understand this, that's back to you have to understand what's the variable. As I just mentioned, variable is just like a folder in the doctor's office. They are keeping, it's a place to keep in your value, but the value inside can dynamically change based on your current health situation. So when you get sick, these kinds of things get updated. When you recover, the information inside get also updated. So let's just try to think about, just wait a minute, I'm using Excel. To mimic what's happening in the computer memory inside. So suppose I'm using this Excel to simulate the computer, and then the computer, they have the memory, they have a lot of place to save the information. So let's say, okay, they dedicate these parts. I just add the comments, place to save the salary sum. Okay, so that's the place we're gonna save the salary sum, and then at another place do the similar things. I will add another comment. Just wait. Okay, let me just do that. Okay, so you can see this is a place to save the salary sum, and then in another place, let's see, another cell place to save the salary. Okay. So let's say I have create 2 places in the memory. They save 2 different value, and then let's see how this is gonna run according to the memory. So we create two variables according to the code, and then when they run the first round, let's see, coming over here. Let's just have the break here. When we use the debug function, okay, so at the current moment, we are reading the first records, okay? So we have the salary information saved over here. I will put 77, so here it's 77516. That's actually what's saved in the memory, and at the current moment, the P salary sum is 0. They don't really have anything. Okay, so that's the code you read. And then when you come over here, because the current state is LA, LA is not equal to NJ. We are not even coming to here to do any operation. So that's the first round when we read the first records. Then we just run it again. Now we start to get the second records, and now the salary variable has been updated. So right now it's not 77516 anymore. Now it becomes 83311. Okay, so and at the current moment the state is actually NJ, so we will actually go inside to run this one. And when you do the operation of this one, so computer will do the calculation on this side first, and then whatever the value they do the calculation, they will assign the value inside over here. So let's see what's gonna happen over there. So at that moment, because they do the operation on this side, they will add this 0 and this number adding together. When they add these two numbers together, they will get another temporary information. It's 83311, because when they add 0, it's 0. This thing is saved in the CPU. And then when they save these things in the CPU, when they do the calculation, because they still have assigned the value function here, that means I will import this value in the CPU into the place where they're gonna hold in the value for that. So this value will be updated to 83311. Okay, so that's the process they're gonna do. They read the 0 at that moment, do the calculation into the CPU. And when they calculate the things in the CPU, they will assign the value back here to update from 0 to this value in the memory. Okay, so that's how they finish that round of the calculation. Okay, then we will continue. Okay. Now we move to another record because we read the second line, and now we start to read the third line. And over here, you will see now this value has been updated here, and the current salary is like this one. So they will put the current value is 215646. They will be here, and then so because right now this record is still New Jersey, so what they're gonna do is still they're gonna do the calculation on this right side first. So when they have the calculation, because right now the P salary sum is this value and the current salary is really this value. So when they do the calculation inside of the computer memory, it's gonna be equal to 83311 plus 215646. So that's since they do the calculation. When they start to do the calculation, that's the results. They finish the calculation on this side, and then because that's an equal sign, so they will assign the value they do the calculation into the place for the memory holding that, because this is a placeholder in the memory. So that's the value they actually do the calculation. So finally, they will have 298957 into the memory. Okay, that's the place actually holding the sum of the salary. So after the processing of this one, this value will be actually updated. So let's say if I run another records, so you can see here the salary has been updated to this value. So you can see, although they are actually reading the previous value at the current salary, when they change, get the final calculation and overwrite the previous value coming over here. So when you try to do the operation similar look like this one, essentially they are doing mathematically just look like this. It just, instead of having many variable here, okay, a list of the variable, and they just need to have two variable to actually do iteration to finish the entire calculation. It's just like in the computer, when you have the logic of this one, it's actually similar to you achieve this function in a mathematical way for you to understand it. Okay, and on the other hand, if you really want the computer to have, let's say I have one variable to save this one and another place in the computer memory to save the salary, just calculate the first person and save the salary at the first two, and then always all the way to the salary have the first all the I person of this salary. So I can change the code a little bit to achieve your actually you want, but by itself it's really unnecessary, because if you just have two simple variable and you just need to have the two space in the memory, that's actually allow you to have the calculation, that's enough. And if you want to do achieve the function like this one, let's see, I have some to have a list. Okay, let's say I create a list, and in the beginning they will have the value of 0 coming over here, and then when I do the update, I will say the P like a salary sum list. I will put the last one into this list by doing the calculation of a P sum salary list of the last one plus a P current salary and in order to help you to understand what's going on here, so I set up two check mark over here. Let you see what's going on here. Okay, so this is more realistic of the way to replicate the mathematical function sitting here. It's like when you have the sum, only consider the first person, first two, and the first I, etc., all the way to the end. So let's try to do the debug and try to understand here. Okay, so in the beginning, the salary sum sitting here. So for the index of 0, subscript of 0, the value is 0 coming here. And since now this person is not New Jersey, because this will not be calculated, or we only add the New Jersey person. So in this iteration, when we come, I guess we still need to come here, because they will not go inside of the if function. So they will come over here, and then they will start to have the second one. Okay, so for the second one, when they have the New Jersey person coming here, what they're gonna do is they will read the last value here. At that moment, the last value is 0, and then plus the salary over here, you will get A3311 when you have the new value here, and they will append into the list. Then this list will have the second element, that's the sum you add to the first person. So when you come over here, when you go to run into the cursor, so you can see now the P salary list of this index of the 1, you will get this value. Okay, so the same thing happening over here. When you have the third person, this is still New Jersey. So what are they gonna do is still reading the last value in this list. They will read here this value plus the current salary of this one. When they get a new value, they will appending this value into this list. So when we check over here, run this, you will see the salary sum subscript of 2, you actually get this value. Okay, and then since you can just keep going on, okay, but just wait a minute. When I run to the cursor, this is Ohio, will not go inside, so we read another Ohio. Let's say I will not break here, because as long as it's not New Jersey, we don't even bother to look at. Let's continue to run and run to another called the Sage, called the person over here. You can see that's the New Jersey coming over here. Then you add a new index because that's based on the last one, okay, plus the current salary, and then that's the value you're gonna get. And once you finish all of that, let's say I will just run to the cursor. Let's say run everything. So you can see they will present all the value starting from salary sum 0 to salary sum 1 and salary sum 2 and salary sum 3. That's the things probably more gonna in the computer have a more matching way to the how you understand this calculation mathematically by using the subscript. But comparing to writing the code like this one, comparing to the code like the previous one, then the difference over here is you need to, instead of just use 2 blocks in the memory, and over here, because you keep appending the value in the list, so what are you gonna have over here is you have the 0, and then you have the A3311 after another block. Let's say if they after that probably concatenate to that, it's 83311 coming here, and after that it's 298957 coming over here, and then you have 344738 coming over here. So if they have the 4 New Jersey person, 3 New Jersey person, you're gonna need to 4 cell in the memory, 4 storage space in the memory. But if let's say if you have 100 New Jersey person, then you need to have 100 memory space. And if you have 1,000,000 people in New Jersey, you have to have 1,000,000 memory space in that place. It's highly unnecessary unless you want to really know the value in the middle. If all we're interested in is just the final value, let's say adding all the things together, I only interested in the last one, all the previous value, I don't really care. So if that's the case, then go back to our original code. Just have the 2 places to hold in the memory, that's enough. And that's the way how you actually try to understand the formula look like this one. Okay, so you read the information, current information in that memory, add another value. When you have these two values together, gets the value, then you will use this value to overwrite the place in the memory, and then the salary value will be updated. And it's actually just do exact calculation sitting here. So that's how you understand the operation in the computer is slightly different from the mathematical formula. You try to understand how you do the update for the sum. Okay. And